Hey everyone. Yeah, it's Tamara Forrester, Empress Jalov. Welcome to my Goddess Wisdom channel. Um, I really had little intention of really beginning this sort of series without being so prepared and having everything delineated of what I wanted to discuss and how I wanted to start it and stuff. But when the vibe kind of says start, just start where you are, and the next one would be more developed, concepts or would be on a different topic altogether. But in realizing that there's a need um, that kind of needs to be filled, like there's something that needs to be filled within the this discussion because I'm doing the research. I'm doing the research. I'm doing the research of learning about these different personality traits. And the more I did the research on the relationship that I happen to be in now, um, the more it was leading me to realize that the relationship that I was in before which was actually not with a person, but with this ongoing interaction and within what can only be called a cult. And that seeing the correlation now between what you would call a narcissist slash psychopath and some of the practices and proclivities that were happening as far as the initiation process and the things that you were being asked to do in order to show your courage, your I mean the way that I defined it anyway was it was like it's like Dorothy, going down the yellow brick road, the sun drenched path, and along that path you meet, you know, um, the catalyst for engaging your heart. You meet the catalyst for engaging your wisdom, your brain, your mind. And you gain the catalyst for being brave. Because to be brave, you have to do brave things. You understand? Like, brave can be a concept as well, but in the journey that I had embarked on and I'm still on in a way, um, you start to realize that um, you really do gather your experiences and see how you gain your powers and your own personal growth through it. No, um, how could I have, being sort of somebody who sees myself as um, intellectually um, engaged and, spiritually attuned and all of these things. Like, how could somebody so, like, well traveled and living in Manhattan and feeling that the world was at or is at their fingertips, like the world is your oyster if you feel like going somewhere, or if you have it in your trajectory to go somewhere, you do it. You go on TripAdvisor and look at what's there, and you book a ticket and fly to this place and that place and have the experience of having experienced those people and that culture and that food and that music and those um, societal and community um, happenings and beings. um how do you get caught up in something that is a cult? How do you have being this sort of um, you know, woman, cosmopolitan, Renaissance girl, and I think it was Abraham Hicks, blessed love, much love, that said it best. That you're so free that you end up choosing bondage. You know, and it happened to be what I was choosing without understanding and realizing it, because I think those of us who are sort of college educated or in that realm of stimulation of the intellect, and sort of understanding like a certain scope of that field of possibilities that may exist. Not everybody understands what the or sees the same field of possibilities that exist before them. So when you have the whole world as your choice and you're really choosing to find spirituality, and you looking within self and saying, I'm resonating with a lot of this stuff, um, that is in the Taoist and Buddhist traditions, and then within that you're saying, yeah, man, and I'm also resonating with some of the stuff that's in Christianity. You understand? Um, yeah, I resonate. You're in a Muslim country for a few months, you start to resonate with the way that they never leave God out. You never really get a chance to leave God out, like as a community, as far as how you choose to pray now, all of that prayer of supplication and whatnot. Of course, you're not really getting stuff done in the way that, and when a lot of people, when they think of Islam and stuff like that, they think of the fundamentalists, and just like within this inner group of the Rastafarian religion that I got caught up in, which ended up not even being an inner group of the Rastafarian faith. It was just um, posing as such in order to engage those who were seeking something more, hence, and probably had the right DNA structure that was preferred, you know. So yeah, so just like a lot of different fundamentalist type groups, not everyone is going to agree with somebody being a suicide bomber or somebody going to those meetings. You know what I mean? It's like it's not every Muslim that. So anyway, so you come to honor people and honor their religions and honor the way, like, yeah, being in Hong Kong and started being in these temples and seeing their statues and seeing their rituals with incense and candles and chanting and like chimes and the sounds and um, it's the different traditions. They have things within them that resonate, and then the more that you sort of seek and gain a certain knowledge, the more you start to realize that, hey, who we are as humanity, as human beings, individual and the collective, all of these things that are possible within us are in fragments. I mean, religion and the different ideologies and concepts that exist all around the world, all of these things with this basis of this and the basis of that, and what did the Moors really bring into Spain and Italy? It's like there's so much when you start to see what civilization and humanity is. So you know the the first process or the first step in what you would call no the the system that exists within a relationship with a being who is narcissistic or psychopathic or whatever. Um, because initially you're not going to know. Whether I didn't even know that these things existed as personality types that could even just be in the general public in a way. But as I started to do the research on these personality types, and like literally it's like answering some of the same questions about the cult, because there's this process, this first part that they call like love bombing, where there are these songs, and there is this feeling of togetherness, and there's this feeling of you're going outside of the norm to do something different, and it has a connection with all these different spiritual practices, with the meditation and with the incense, um, and with the drumming, and with the African retention part of it. So maybe it's a little bit of Buddhism, but it has the African retention within it. um, that curiosity is piqued, because when you become a sort of more evolved being, you decide that, yeah, I want to be around beings who think the way I think, and I want to be amongst those who have a certain integrity about how they want to go about life. And because I was that black woman in America, and certainly in New York City, who had sort of figured out um some what I figured out the formula in a way, like I was traveling, I lived in Manhattan, I was going to dinner parties where my mind was engaged in particular ways. I wasn't just going out and like, oh, you're going out, so you're gonna go dancing. It was more like you would read the New York Times in order to prepare yourself sometimes for whatever thing is coming up. So you train yourself into becoming a cultured sort of person by gathering the different things in society that allows you to represent your people in the different environments that you and your significant other or whatever is in. And that's me. And so the hoovering, not the hoovering, the that sort of euphoria of feeling that you belong, like you're finding your community of those who might be thinking the way that you're thinking, and you're finding that within some of that, some are expressing things in a really interesting way, which is marrying some of the African stuff that you're learning because you're reading books like Stolen Legacy, you're reading books like The Miseducation of the Negro. You're like, I'm reading all this stuff because I'm in college, I'm doing anthropology, and the questions I'm asking because of what I already know, um, have my professors pointing me to books that weren't on the syllabus. So I'm reading stuff outside of what, and so I'm writing. Sometimes I'm writing papers, and it's confuting what's in the book that we have. But basically, I'm being told you have to answer the question based on what's in the book that's in the class. So, um, and then the teachers weren't having everybody at the same standard. So understanding that I had gotten into Columbia University, but now I'm at Medgar Evers where the pace is a little bit different. I am now not even being judged based on what's going on around me, but based on the fact that the professors knew what school I had already deferred my enrollment to. So even you're almost being engaged in a way. But anyway, it was a good thing to be engaged in multiple kind of ways, being in that environment. But having this sort of conscious material come up, and listening to the Bobby Hemmets, and listening to Dr. Delbert Blair and Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, and you know what I'm saying, like um filling up on all of this information, and sort of understanding Kemet history and understanding our place in history, it was like it changes the way that you view the world. It changes the way that view anything. So the euphoria that happened in that first time of what I would call that love bombing stage of what happened with the cult, when you're deciding whether or not there even is an initiation, because it's not called that when you started. It's not called an initiation process when you start doing these things. Um so yeah, there is a euphoria called, just like in that first part of the relationship with a narcissist, where it's like you just focusing on on what's going on within that system, within that complex sort of, because it was always there, but like you've just become aware of it. um yeah, so that's one of the, what was the other? Idealization. I think maybe I was the one idealizing the situation and romanticizing what could be, because how it ended up turning out is that this particular cult, an inner group, of the Rastafari, that call themselves the Trod, or the Trotters, or the Tradition with an O, tradition. Um, it's it turned out to not be something that is based on what a community would need or want or whatever. It's based on catering to those who started the community, which is interesting because if you're a builder and you get a large piece of land and you start building on it, or and then you get others to buy pieces of land as well, and you create this environment, that's all possible. Yet what you have with these is musicians who are relatively young, some who were born with a trust fund, others who have made money in their, young life or mid, whatever. Um, Realizing that, listen, you have fans, you have groupies, you have multiple women in multiple cities, in multiple states, in multiple countries, waiting for the opportunity for the next once a month, twice a month, because you travel, and there's so the quantum field of women is so much thicker. And with how things are now, with how with I mean, look at the time when it was Bob Marley. With Bob Marley, he has 20 odd children with however many baby mothers, and children who were being born at the same time, that baby pregnant women at the same. So when that happened, he wasn't able to actually have all of the mothers of the children sort of get along and live close to each other, and all the children be able to see each other and all of that, because it wasn't an organized attempt at um at a multi family, multi wife, modern niche interpretation of that. No, the best way to get great DNA is to go into certain colleges and see who sort of radicals are within those colleges, and then start to see, and who is you know so once you become caught up in the curiosity, and then it starts to go within, wow, there's an actual movement, and really, and who is brave enough to let go of where they are to embark on something else. Is it real? Is it there are all these questions, yet you're brave, and brilliant or whatever, or you're whatever these things are, that says, hey, maybe there's something there that is possible. No, most of those women, and even the ones that didn't get to it through college, they're not thinking that they're about to enter a process of depletion in order to bend their mind, in order for them to be able to be handled properly. Because it's easier to handle a woman who is not all there in a way, because she'll still have the great DNA if you want to have your children with her. She'll still she'll have children and be a good mother in a way, even if she's sort of a controlled, subservient, whether or not she still has her faculties in a way, you understand. um those things don't matter as much as just a docile situation, so, or many docile situations within the same gated community, so that the community itself, you understand, um, um, can have the children, mostly or all or whatever, being raised together in a way. So there are these bigger women also that are sort of the ones that are teachers and stuff like that. So no, you're looking at a system that appears one way when you begin it, but as you have left home, basically, I mean, when I used to try the country and be walking around, because one of the initiation things is that you walk around the perimeter of the island, and I was in Jamaica doing this. Um, one of the one of the things um, that really got you to initiate, I guess, um, one of the things that really got you impassioned, um, is this idea that there's a greater purpose for your endeavors, and whether or not the society around you understand what you're embarking on, you understand that bigger picture, and so because of that, you are going to be the one that yeah, that's able to have your voice heard and have a full life. And yet you're looking at embarking on a process that, if you stay in it and continue, it's a mind bend that have you basically ready to have a handler at the end of it if it's successful. And if it's not successful, meaning that even though you were doing the walk around the country, even though you were dehydrated in the sun, even though you're stomping around in the, even though the hunger and the ashram life, the working for food as you go, even though you're doing those things and whatnot, you still have the facility of sharpness, which is allowing you to write songs. I was writing songs as I was trotting. I would be walking and writing things on little pieces of paper and cardboard boxes. And then when I reach to like a city or a place where there's a library, I'd go to the library and email the songs to myself. That's how I have so many songs. These were not being written. These were like journeys, like you're literally on the journey and being inspired, or you write part of a song and type it out. I was always going into libraries, typing stuff out and emailing it to myself. So, you're living in a very different kind of reality than everyone else. And because I knew, again, that this was for a bigger purpose, a larger purpose, it was very simple. It was very easy, actually, to not really consider what my family would think about it, because they're used to hearing that I'm somewhere in the world traveling or working on some project or doing something. Um, And here I was on this journey where I'm living in the streets of Jamaica. I didn't even tell them I was um, going there. So, although that idealization part after the love bombing part, just like in a narcissistic relationship or whatever, that part where you start to romanticize, what the possibilities are. And as you start to convince yourself that you're doing the right thing and telling everybody else that they don't even understand you, you isolate yourself more and more. So you're living in the public yeah, but you're totally isolated in a way because they don't understand what you're doing. Your family don't understand what you're doing. So more and more and more friends and family, because you're asked to give up your possessions. You're asked to basically empty your bank accounts. You're asked to live without any phone. You're asked to not live in any house. You understand? We're counting stars. We're not counting money. You're asked to traverse the country. You understand? On foot. You know, take you about a month to do unless you dilly dally for a week or whatever somewhere. The people I rented a shop in White House, and the lady is a lady that I stayed with her. Then the first time I met her, I went to the house with her and her two grandkids. I mean, you have to do it in a way because the whole idea of the process is that Jah is watching everything that you do and listening to everything. So what's the point of going through all of that if you're not going to do it the right way? Because you're just going to be in the streets doing this without any possibility of doing something different. So yeah, I was always vigilant about doing stuff the disciplined way or the way that I was being asked to do it because at the end of the day, I had to succeed. I had to have a successful end to all of what I expected to happen. So yeah, the idealization definitely happened as a part of it as well. Um, the devaluation. No, the devaluation started to happen with the cult. Um, as I kept going on and started to create industry with my hand, which is another hands, which is another thing you're asked to do, which is the making of the jewelry and stuff. Um, I was declaring myself in posters as a leader. I had a song. Um, so I had the poster for the song, which was an 11 by 17. Then I had 11 by 17 of me and Simone, this woman who had interviewed me on national television in Jamaica with my jewelry. I had one of the pictures from the television station from the interview. And I had that and the caption under some leaders are born women. Now I was declaring myself leader, not because I was trying to declare myself leader to the people, to the Rastas, to the general public, but because I was there in the streets and where I had set up my business and basically lived and everything was there were a bunch of people there who do charter taxis. So they don't have like a route taxi where they're always on the go. They're there waiting to see who from the cafe that's upstairs because they're pretty sort of chic cafes upstairs from where I have my business there. Um, and so all of these taxi people would be there waiting to see. So they knew that I was there all the time. That, most people, they're on their schedule. They just see me whenever they see me on their going and whatever. Um, so they were just giving me a lot of problem and really bullying me a lot and teasing me a lot and were really upset that people were buying my jewelry that I was commanding price for my stuff because I knew that they were individual. I knew that they were unique and they didn't understand why people were valuing me. So um I was being devalued by the people around me in a way, I guess you would say. And because of that, I started to stand up for myself. I putting the poster up there that showed them that, listen, people from our society, where you live, where I live, where I am born in, and I've been here for however many years back now, I have said that what I do is cool and interesting and different and unique and innovative. So basically, chill. And so I started to put, and I'm living out there. I mean, I'm out there. I'm right underneath. I mean, it's a marble sort of corridor. Like, I have it very nicely, sort of elegant and interesting. Um, so, where I was putting up my posters was like my living room, was like my kitchen. Transport center was, my bathroom. So, or if it was when I was still in New Kingston, Emancipation Park. Um, so, I yeah. As I started to declare myself leader and putting up posters of the song that I'd written, that I'd found a rhythm for, and I had used money from my jewelry stuff to pay for studio time, which is just what I was doing. I had over 23 songs recorded just from finding a rhythm that would, because I would write my songs and then find the rhythms. In the Caribbean, you get a rhythm and you write a song to the rhythm. I have write my songs and then I find a rhythm. So as I was doing that, um, I would just go in and do my recordings and do my recordings. I did a couple of cover songs as well, recorded. Um, yeah, so the devaluation started with me when I started to publicly declare myself leader. You understand? And then once once I was out there now, it was almost like I was being asked to pick from people who were not anywhere in my vibe, my heart space, no connection, no stimulation intellectually, no none of the things that I really would value in a partner. And those who I saw signs of that didn't really know that I am this like well-traveled um sort of person on a journey to learn about the environment around me so I can help the people in that environment around me with my music, keeping everything upbeat and easy to be memorized, because everything I was writing, I was basing it on the teenagers loving it and memorizing it. Because once the teens have it, it's in the house, and then everybody have to be programmed by it. You understand? So get them on board with anything that I'm doing creatively, music wise, was always the theme. Um, so yeah, I definitely just started to see this correlation. And even with this idea of breaking up with them, now after years, no, this is the initiation process. Okay, so I reached to Jamaica with no suitcase or anything, just some reading stuff and a little I think pouch type thing with my I mean. And I just decided that I was going to play it the way that I was being asked to. And I did. And it was really brave. But I was a traveler and I believed in something greater than. And to me, I could have done this journey anywhere as long as there was sun. Like, it needed to be a sun drenched environment. That was the main thing that I was being asked to find. That's one of the reasons I started to go down south from New York until I reached to Florida. And seeing all these signs and stuff, the times when I would be on foot, because I wasn't on foot all the time as I was when I got to Jamaica doing that stuff. But when I was in Florida doing it, I started to see like signs about alligator. I don't know if it's alligator or crocodiles or whatever, and like like I'm out there. And I'm like, this is this is like it's not like I'm in a car and I'm seeing those signs. It's like I'm out there. So, then I'm like, okay, either Arizona or Jamaica, and I chose Jamaica. So, um, the how can I know though? Realizing that this is not a group of Rastas per se. This is a group of men who need the female's mind to be in a certain place so that they can decide who they want to keep for themselves and who they're going to let others have access to or be with or marry or have children with. Um, that's not what I had in mind. I very much autonomous, very much saw that would be some kind of a trap. And if it's an environment where I have to put my trust in where it is, and how do I know my freedom of movement while once I'm there? Is it a gated community where I don't really have freedom of movement, or only certain people have freedom of movement, and all of these? There are so many questions that, and realizing that, you know, so a lot of the so once you start to realize, or once I started to realize that, listen, this is not an environment or that I want to necessarily be in or be stuck in, or maybe not even being able to choose who I am with, because a part of this journey is not just that they want you to be counting stars, not counting money. They want you out there under the stars. They want you walking at night and daytime too, because you're supposed to do the lap around the country as quickly as possible. You're not really supposed to tarry in any place any long time. So it's a lot of sleep deprivation. It's a lot of dehydration. It's a lot of hunger. It's a lot of understanding that the society around you is judging you, even though you have your mental facility. They don't know you. You're walking through, and then after you've done it a bunch of times, then they just assume, okay, remember that girl, So, but then when they talk to you, and you're using words that they haven't, and you're like explaining what you're doing, and later on I started showing them like music that I had online, and I'm like, what are you doing out here? What are you doing traversing the country on your foot, on foot? This is dangerous, and is this and is that. um Yet one of the programs that was constant is we walk by faith and not by sight. So, and every time that you self-propel and reach to your destination, even if it's a month later, every time you self-propel and reach from Falmouth to Montego Bay, you feel a sense of accomplishment that you just walk 40 miles or whatever it is. You just accomplished something. You just made it through. You just you know, figure it out, made it through, tired, hungry, don't know where you're gonna sleep yet. Um, whatever. But then you start to know where are the places. Like in Montego Bay, it was at the Summit Station, the police station, because that's where people went to get like I think it's the passport stuff or like any printout stuff that they need, like if they're traveling. So people would just send, they have like this atrium area. So you would start to know where there's like a Baptist church right before Fern Gully in Colgate. Colgates are in so it became like this dance, this game, because sometimes you don't know if you're gonna get to an environment in the day or in the night, if it's gonna be appropriate for you to go where that church, so you're on the veranda of a church instead of inside, or you start to be really acutely aware of everything, and honestly, it just grows you in a way that, and the fact is, you're always living with this thing that you're being watched and listened to by the Most High because you want to get into the community so you can stop this freaking torment that you're putting yourself through in order to show them that you're strong enough and brave enough and have enough heart and willing to work for food as you go along. many times I'm having to leave a restaurant because they don't have anything for me to do or don't want to give me the broom or whatever, just want to give me some food or think it's strange that I only want rice and some vegetable if they have it or rice by itself because it would be rice and chicken a lot and I don't, yeah, I'm vegetarian. So, there was this thing of you're always overcoming and that's the greatest part I think of that journey is like um it's like boot camp, and in boot camp you leave home and you give up everything that you know from your house, all your nice clothes, and you give your little sister the car key, and you decide that, hey, I'm gonna go into the army. I want to become a soldier. And while you're there, you're telling your brother back home, like, wow, yesterday um I jumped out of a plane, and I did a parachuting for the first time. And then, like, the next time they talk to you, they're like, wow, I just crawled through mud underneath barbed wire, I'm all cut and stuff, but hey, wow, what an experience. I'm so, like, and then you're climbing a mountain the next day and they're hearing about that. And then you jump, you're learning how to fly a helicopter, whatever these different things are, that you're stretching yourself, you're allowing yourself to do things that are different, that allows you to grow, that allow you to overcome, that allows you to have discipline and integrity, and allows you to be brave, and allow you to learn, hey, it's possible to work for everything that you have going along. Like, you don't need to always be dependent on the piece of paper, because it would seem sometimes that if even if you had paper, that's when somebody would somehow know that you have paper, because if you didn't have paper, nobody not really looking to try to impede you, because like you look lower on the food chain than them. So people generally leave you alone, you understand? So I know what it is to live with this thing of being humbled by the world. I had to, I mean, you're, you, while you're on this journey and going through this initiation, another thing that you're asked to do is not be sexual. You can't have a relationship, of course not. You can't have sex. You can't have that feeling of intimacy or just being desired. I went through years of totally becoming out of touch with my womanness and my femininity and all of that, looking nothing like this. And the interesting thing is I always had my hair wrapped. Always. It was after COVID, like right in the COVID time when I'm starting to wake up, like these people really don't care about me. They know I'm out here. But and I'm like, they don't want any strong. It's not like it's a community where there are different rungs of society. There are the merchants, and then there are the leaders and the government people, and then there are the street sweepers, and then there's this and there's that. It's just that, and it's not like there's the leaders who want females who are leaders as well. They want everybody who's coming in to have a certain capacity of having a handler and or being under some kind of a hypnotized whatever, or to be easily controlled. And if you don't reach that benchmark um of losing that facility within you, that happens after you're worn down psychologically, after doing this walk, after waiting, after, making music and showing them your talents. And so you're constantly engaged in like your whole life is set towards what Jah want you to do, which is you have it as the living God who's leader of this clan. Hence, you're having to be really diligent about what you think, how you think it, what you do with your body. You can't be doing this trot and then, like, somebody's gonna try to kiss you or so. I mean, and most people when they see you, they don't see you as somebody who, they don't see this. They don't see somebody who they might want to be with, or might they just wondering if you're okay, or wondering if you're whatever. And so there was none of this wild hair. This, it was just very much subdued and always wrapped up and always um I knew when I was trotting and in that kind of gear and that kind of mindset, that the same people, if I was in a restaurant in, Ucharias, looking at you differently, treating you differently, everything, and you're the same person. I've had those experiences so many times. Once I reached somewhere where I know people, like I'd reached Falmouth, there was this family that they have a restaurant, and I would go and stay there. Um, when I get there, it's one thing. Once I shower and do everything or whatever, it's like the world see you. It's like I know that. So you don't become arrogant after being allowing the world to humble you continually and continuously in so many ways. And then, so that's why I was perfect feeding for somebody who has the narcissistic personality trait, or psychopathic or sadistic traits, because once I tell them that and they have those traits, they're going to immediately say to themselves, wow, this is going to be perfect person to control. This person is look how brilliant she is, and she's been letting these people tell her to walk around the country in the sun, in the rain, in the whatever. Well, you're too strong. How can you get so strong? And then so I'm telling, and it's also like, I'm walking through Fern Gully, which is a really covered area where in the daytime it's dark, much less at night. At night I couldn't see my hand in front of me when I stretched my hand out like this, and I'm walking through because I used to stop in Ocherias, that's on one side of Fern Gully, or on the other side of it is Colgate or Walker's Wood. And I would stop at one of those areas, and then also with Bamboo Avenue, also places canopied with bamboo trees on both sides for like 3 miles maybe, 4 miles, I don't know, 3 miles maybe. Um, so at night, I would stop either where there's two places where they sell soup. I think it's only one of them that's 24 hours. But if you get to it early enough, like by 10 or whatever, 9 or whatever time, or you stay in middle quarters, there's an area you kind of know where you can stay. That is because most of the time you're trotting is in the country. So, you know, um, one day I'm at the soup place right before and decided that Bamboo Avenue is there. It's nighttime. We're gonna just sit there on one of the benches at the soup place, and that's where I'm gonna be. Um, so I'm telling the lady who's seen me before, and probably think that like what's going on with this girl? She's so normal, but what is she doing? You understand? Because I'm like living this alternate reality. Um, um, And she said something to me that I decided, whoa, Ja is just talking to me. She said something like, well, it's the same Bamboo Avenue at day as in the nighttime. It's the same day, it's the same street. And that's how I always thought of all the other parts of the road, because I would walk at times at night. You understand? That was one of the things that you're supposed to muscle through as well. Um, Yet I was like, you know what? You're right. And I walked through Bamba Avenue after that. Of course, I had to walk through Fern Gully. And then once you do it and you realize the time, sometimes you pause because you don't feel like it. And sometimes you just do it, even though Fern Gully is winding. Sometimes the only way I would really know what was coming up is you have to just see where, because the white line in the middle it's not even there the whole time. It's going back and forth like that. So sometimes it's just little pieces of it that's there. So you have to catch where that is. And periodically, like a car is going to come through, or a couple cars at a time. Um, yeah, so again, to be brave, you have to do brave things. So I know what that is. I know what it is. Because my home, like my family house, is in an area in Kingston called Norbrook. Now, Norbrook is what they call uptown. It's in the hills. Well, that part of Norbrook anyway is at the beginning part of the hill, but it's on the hillside where when we look up from the patio, you're seeing what's going on below you. 3-story house, 8 bedrooms, 5 bathroom. My bedroom set is there, my 4-poster bed with everything. my fridge is there, although it's in the other little kitchen or whatever. It's a multi-level, multi-situation home because I left my stuff there when I went back to America the last time. So I still had a lot of furniture at the family house because I had my own place in Norbrook. Um, so to leave from that environment and pack a little bag with some snacks and whatever to last you for the first day and trot out, my family started to know when I was leaving, even when I was trying to hide it. Um, and started to make a real big fuss about me doing this trot that didn't make any sense to them. So then started to have to run from my family because then they're now trying to get other people involved to try to talk to me and doing all this stuff to me and whatever. So I had to like leave the house. Um, so because what I realized in certain areas, they don't really care what's going on in that big house. You understand? That big house, they stay over there. Those ones stay over. It's not like in the like now that I've been in many different environments. In like the lower income environments, your neighbors are like right there a lot of the times, or middle income or whatever. You understand? It's not like you have these larger environments and more garage spaces, and land space or whatever it is, or even just house space, so that even if the houses are relatively close to each other, you still don't have this sense of it being like right there, even in the same way that in certain environments, you know that neighbors are there. You understand? Anything that happened, there's accountability because other people they boat. Sometimes these bigger places, there's less accountability, in a way because people are more allowing you. Wealthy people allow other people wealthy to do what they're doing, generally. So, um, yeah, so so less checks and balances. I had to leave the house. So I couldn't use it as my base anymore to do the trod and to make industry with my hands with my jewelry. So because it was back and forth. I was using the house like a vacation almost. Like I know I'm supposed to be out there. I'm out there most of the time. I would trot around, trot with the trod and be out there for like a while, sometimes trying to figure out how I'm gonna get back in the house without a big, whatever, because the housekeeper downstairs, like I had to be figuring out when my aunt is there or whatever, because it's different when I get there and just come off of a trot, or if they come home and I'm already showered and cooking and I've come back and back. So I used to try to make to um yeah, so and then for a time I started to leave my immediate belongings in the supermarket, like bag check for like the whole 3.5 weeks or a month that I'm there because I'm like, I don't even want to be going up to the house and so at that time I'm trying to figure out what to do with the immediate stuff for my business and for the jewelry making stuff and the tools and and keep my stuff at the house, but go back. So I know what it is to be humble. I know what it is to see the house, be in the house, tapping around with the kids, with the computer, just having all of the normal stuff. And then, all right, fine. All right, fine. You put on, the New Balance them you know, and started to, and like the sweater that you can put around it's just you start to even know what to wear, how to dress, so that because sometimes the nights are really cold and then the days are like super like wow. So I know about the trauma bond because all of that time of doing these things, in fact, all this time was going, and I wasn't even realizing that year after year after year it was going, and I'm still doing this thing. That they would just had me like in this perennial loop of doing these things because my mind wasn't breaking. This was the first time when I started to realize, like, hey, is this really a case where I'm supposed to be brainwashed? And like, it's not working. I almost wanted the brainwashing to be taking. Like, how come I'm not getting brainwashed? Because I'm like, oh my god, how long am I gonna have to do this? Just get brainwashed and already, like, what do I have to do to be brainwashed? Like that kind of thing. Because I didn't know that's what was going on, and that I was just being asked to do this over and over and over. Then one of the times I was trotting through Ocho Rios, and I stopped at the library. And while I'm waiting for my turn to get on one of the computers, I started to look through the books to see what's there, and came upon a book called If Caterpillars Can Fly, So Can I, written by Alvin Day. No, it was a metaphysical book written by a Jamaican, who I guess is living abroad or whatever. Um, but it was like revolutionary to me because it was bringing me back to some of the knowledge. Because after doing something over and over, initially when you're doing these activities and living in outdoors and all of these things, initially it's a strengthening. It's it's a brave. But when you start to do the same activity over and over and over, where it becomes like this monotonous thing that you're just doing over and over and over, and it's just long, and because you already, like, what you start to ask the question, what am I gonna learn this time walking around the country that I didn't learn last time, and last time, and the last time, and the last time? So once I started to ask that question, I stopped trotting around the island as much. Or when I was being asked, I would do it sometimes. And it went from doing trotting around the island sometimes when I'm being beckoned to do it, to stopping it altogether. Now, I didn't realize that in stopping it altogether, it's the same kind of thing as rejecting a narcissist slash psychopath or whatever, because because as you walk away, they don't want you to leave and be successful. They don't want you to leave the group and have success outside of them. You understand? They were in a process of depleting you. It didn't matter how talented you are as a writer, as a singer, as a performer. If you get to the community and they don't want you to do that, they want you to do something else, or they want you to write and don't, or they want you to do this and that, or whatever, you don't have autonomy anymore. So it's like you're working so hard for something for so long, like you're still trying to hold on to it, even though you realize it. Yeah, wait, I'm not even sure if I want this. But you've been fighting for this for so long that you're still going through the motion of fighting for it. But at the end of the day, you start to realize, no, wait. I mean, wait. So then you start to ask those questions. Yeah, the bigger questions. So, that process of building up resilience, you understand? That process of building up the power of will, you understand? Willpower, the power of will. Because I was doing anthropology in college, and it was almost like I'm in Jamaica doing anthropology in my own community with my own people. Like, I'm out there, okay, what is needed here? Like, what do I need to write about? What am I seeing? So not only was I writing songs, and a lot of praise and worship songs as well, I was writing, like, I think it ended up being like 80 something or 90 something page synopsis of Jamaican society and all the different stuff going on, from the school uniforms to the dancehall culture to the dancehall music to the inundation of the mindset to the dressing styles to the I mean, all of Jamaican society, and just putting a focus on that while I'm out there. I'm there in front of your pharmacy. I'm seeing what's going on around me. And it's like, even as I'm out there living amongst the people in a way, you understand, and having my table. It was underneath something. It's not like you understand? It was covered, it was marble. It was really actually elegant. I'm really happy that I found that environment. And it was 24-hour cafe, and it's kind of stush. So So the bank managers and bank workers from NCB right across the street, from Victoria Mutual, from all the different what's it named? That was a favorite place for coffees and for cheesecake and for French toast and all of the stuff that they wanted that weren't necessarily Jamaican. Plus it was a 24-hour pharmacy. So so yeah, and yeah, that location I was really happy for. Um So yeah, you build up a certain resilience, yes, because you you start to have confidence in yourself, right? But if you're doing the same activity over and over and waiting for the same people to say, yeah, you're strong enough, you're talented enough, you're humble enough, you're virtuous enough, because you're not able to be involved in any relationship. I didn't realize that so many years were going past soon because I didn't have a phone. I'm just functioning in a very different kind of way from everybody. Just periodically I would go to the library and check in on Facebook, and even that was a bunch of confusion because sometimes I would, be posting stuff that had no kind of relevance in a way, because it was so out of tune with what was going on, like, because you can be an artist. I was talking about this too the other day with Owen. um you can be an artist, right? Because with me, I call my jewelry art you can wear, and some jewelry is like that. Some jewelry is like the actual, um we call it emanations from the soul, of the person that's creating it. And some is more methodical. You understand? No, I do beads, I do different stuff, but I carve from wood, from the wood itself, from the bark, um, different parts of the tree. Yet, when I have a big order, right, I engage another artisan or other artisans who can make me you can make me, I don't know, 3 dozen 2.5 inch heart shapes out of lignum vitae, and I pay them for that, and then I do what I'm gonna do with that. I paint them, I dress them the way I'm gonna dress them, I put them on whatever, how I do what I do with them. You understand? So it's the same thing. Like when I went being in Georgetown, being in Guyana, and starting to run out of lignum vitae, started running out of the materials, and realizing that I need to get materials. So you go to a carpentry, and there you can get the ankhs done, you can get certain shapes created, or if it's a certain shapes created. Yet it doesn't mean that it's not my creations at the end. It is going to be elevated into the art that I create, because all I need is the basic shape in wood to do what I do. And when I have my company and I have large orders for different resorts, for different websites online to ship the different orders coming in, to when I have my company and my own shops to supply around the world, and whatever, of course I'm gonna have people who work for me who are gonna do the thing I'm gonna do, the design, and they're gonna replicate and do whatever. It's gonna still be handmade. It's still gonna be divine roots jewelry, but or whatever I name it. Yet, if you don't have a mindset of a bigger picture mindset, if you have this mindset of, oh yeah, it's this, and this, I can try to convince somebody, yeah, setting up and selling the jewelry, that's not where the real juice is. The real juice is when a shop takes it, because they're gonna take more when they run out. And they're gonna take more every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, every 3 weeks, depending how well the stuff is moving. And that's why I build, you know um a display for people who, and somebody who would, no, why are you going to put money to build? Because when you build a display, it's going to be displayed the way you want it, and you're going to have some kind of say, most likely, of where in the shop it's placed so that this product move. I went to sort of like a nerdy school, as like the last school or one of the last school, the school I went to the most as far as in America, high school, Brooklyn Technical High School. I went to school with a lot of overachievers, a lot of brainiacs. Like it's one of the three schools. There's Bronx Science, Stuyvesant, which is in Manhattan, and Brooklyn Tech, which is in Brooklyn. And you take one test and you get into one of those three schools, depending on where you're from and whatever else they use. And only you have to pass those tests. Um, so yes, I went to one of those schools, and Brooklyn Tech is a math science school. It's a lot of AP classes, advanced placement classes, and even the normal classes is not really at the same level as ordinary schools or as normal schools. So we were sort of cool, you know what I mean? But we were like cool nerds. Like I never, you know, and though there were the jocks were there and the this and the that. In fact, when I reconnected on Facebook with somebody, and said, a bunch of us we just didn't understand you. Like you were such an attractive girl, but you'd like sit on the floor and you would wear like vintage clothes and everybody's in their designer jeans and their sneakers and their whatever, and I'm like in my 70s gear and like, it's blue streaks in my hair. For a while, I had blue eyebrows. Everything else was normal, but my eyebrows were blue or purple. Because I wanted people to focus on the fact that I read books, that have a brain, that like, why would I really want to be a model if I could be Oprah? You understand? Like, models don't speak. So, so I was really fighting against this stigma. What I now understand about the cult, I do understand how I could have magnetized a person who has so many of the traits that the cult displays, and invited this person into my world in the most open and whatnot way. First of all, while I was still in the midst of doing trottings and all of this stuff, I wrote this song called Lion, My Lion. And My Lion is all about this lion, this man who is a part of the den of lions, and Rastas like to consider themselves lions with the hair or whatever. And me, I'm a lioness. Um, yeah. So look at my lion in the tribe, right? Confident and refined, that's his style, but he knows the streets. Yet he let go of that long time. Humble and strong, yeah, he's all mine. He doesn't bother chase skirts, prefers one of a kind. This man, he's so happy to find me, cause knowledge, understanding, wisdom is mine. And sweet as sugar pie. So that, so as I'm singing that song, no, in the grill, because now I'm in an environment where I can perform songs. So that song is a simple one to have found a simple hip hop beat to go with it. So it was a simple song to sing. Yet I was programming that into the environment. Also, what I was programming into the environment is so I was programming into the environment this um, ex industry kind of person who's now refined and at a different level, and is not chasing a lot of different women anymore, prefers the unique one of a kind, like. So also at that same time, I was putting up images of my relationship with the person I'd been with for 10 years when I was still in New York, um, right before I entered this initiation process with the cult. So I was putting up a lot of pictures of me and Steven in our travels to Europe, in our travel to Dubai, in our travel to Puerto Rico. I was looking at, I was putting up, I think they're still up on Instagram and FB and stuff. I was putting up pictures of us like, traveling to like upstate New York because we used to rock climb upstate. Um, Biking. I pictures of Martha's Vineyard, like local travels that we did, as well as the international stuff. You understand? So I was putting out a lot of energy as well, like psychic energy. So I meet this person who has the characteristics of what was in that song. Although I didn't realize I didn't sing in that song as me calling the thing the that kind of being. But once that being was in my presence with the similar look as my ex, who had just been sort of featuring in my consciousness as well, I was sure that I'd magnetized this person into my life. The way that I even walked over to where they were, because he was over there standing with the owner of the property where I have my business. And people come over there all the time and talk to him, and I never have any reason to go that way because my shop is this way. And I just started, I go for lunch, and I just started going this way too. And I don't know why. And as I'm doing that, he's coming down from where he's talking to the person to come and meet me. And that's how we start talking. And it was just strange. It was just all kind of, and so all of these signs of this mystical thing, and then I started to kind of ignore him because I realized that he was really Kingston based. He's in Jamaica doing business, but um he's in Kingston, so he's not. But he was back on, so I would see him a couple of times, and he would send texts, but I wouldn't like respond to them that day, or like 3 days later or whatever, just kind of casual stuff. And what one of the things were why I really did get taken into, um, was that a lot of the texts were this conscious stuff on Africa and ancient Kemet and proverbs and stuff like that. So it wasn't all any personal text initially, like how are you and or how you do it. Like it wasn't like so. I was cool. It was just I was yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why when I did see him in person, I um I allowed our conversation to be a real conversation as opposed to the sort of topical, superficialish conversations because I was so in trauma from all of that I'd been putting myself through to realize that it wasn't even for anything to do with Rasta. It was just a bunch of dudes who were catering for their libido and their need to control the women and their want, um, for you to basically have no facility with your sharpness in order to function amongst them. Like it was like very devastating in a way, and there was no one to go to and talk to about it because I'd alienated so many people because I believed. No, when you start to pull away from the cult, this is specifically for the trotters, the tradition. And I am pretty darn sure that it's the corollary or runs parallel to other cults as well in exiting. Um, in pulling back from them, they decided, I guess, that the amount of effort that they put into you, the amount of what, like, you're not allowed to know, decide that, you know what, I don't want to even be in there. Like I don't know what's gonna happen once I'm there. Am I gonna have like, and you can't ask any real direct questions. So it wasn't for me. Yet when you walk away, it is now for them that same energy of people that's there periodically while you try to get you from here to be sometimes, and all these different things where you know that you're being monitored in sort of a general, in sort of a in a way, you understand? Because they do have the Joan thing sometimes or whatever. This idea of virtuous woman, you know, this was used so much in order to keep you in line that I didn't, I wasn't prepared. I didn't, although I was saying to myself, I want a baby, I was sort of desperately in my mind saying, wow, I can't believe, like I don't have a baby yet. Like, what's going on? Like, how did this happen? At the same time, I wasn't even, I didn't even really know how to open up myself back I mean, the way that I broke my second virginity was in sort of a desperate, like it was like this person, he was just, this very, he was like a football coach, very like boring, like very just with the glasses and frumpy, but we always had these long conversations on the phone. And this is when I started to come back into the world, and my aunt sent me a phone from Florida, and so like I have this like phone now and all this stuff again. And then I gave away the phone and she sent me another phone. I mean, Um yeah, so at least with him I was talking to him, and then Valentine's Day came up. And before Valentine's Day, only significance I had was around jewelry making. Like, oh, I guess I'll make more hearts than usual. Or, oh my God, let me get the gift bags and make gift bags with hearts and whatever. Like that was the kind of significance that those days had. And but it was like five freaking Valentine's Day. It was like 5 years. Oh, 5 years plus, and at the same time, I wasn't eating cooked food. Like I went 4 plus years of no cooked food while I was out there, no, nothing out of the pot. Everything either cooked from the sun, from cabbage to ackee, pumpkin, of course the cucumber and a lot of fruits and the lettuce and all. Yeah, so nothing cooked, no bread, nothing. Yet I decided that I wanted cooked food and I wanted to be, it was like I couldn't let another Valentine's Day go. And yeah, so that's how and then it was just like, and of course I was trying to make it work because he was desperately sort of wanting a woman, and certainly me is like, whoa. He was like, but it was just not anything stimulating my brain. I was just like, okay, just an okay person, and just coaching is but no aspirations for anything else, and no, it just sort of, but very aware of what was going on as far as on the news and in the sports and in the government and that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So yeah, just, and then I had to pull back completely. So then another 2 years or something went by. You understand? And then so it was like, so this other long period of time went again. Um, then COVID came, and this concept of lockdown. And the first time, I'm hearing these things, I'm like getting like wow, like angsty, and I'm like, and that's when it happened again. But I found out that this person was a part of the group that stole my dance competition, you know, and he was a part of the actual crew who created the new dance competition that's still running now called Dancing Dynamite when they stole mine. And he's like a part of them. He's like a family friend, like, and it was just like I couldn't manage it because my concept for my show didn't have my dancers out there begging for money in front of pharmacies, in front of restaurants, in malls, for in order to have rehearsal space and costumes and stuff and grooming. It's simple enough when you're producing a show. Even the first year of production, especially when you're already affiliated with a television station. For me, I had to, get my thing aired. Yet, why would you not go to Lee's Fifth Avenue? Or why would you not go to TJ Maxx if it's not something, a local shop? Or why wouldn't you not? You understand? Go to Macy's or whatever, and have them. There's so many different possibilities. You have them in this kind of need in order to display their talent on air, and you're benefiting from that. And now you're gonna have them needing to go to their peoples or whatever, when it's mostly inner city people doing this, and or they're gonna no be looking to those who are sort of the sharks, instead of it being the purity of what it was supposed to be. When I did my show, when they were looking at me like, how can you try to bring dancing to normal television? But they saw that the dancers that I had on my show, the female finalists, they were college students. I think 7 or 8 of them were college students. Oh, the one that won was isn't in a college. She's a teacher, a dance choreographer. Anyone could enter. You understand? And so they saw that this, like, people have choreography styles that's not necessarily pornographic. It doesn't have to be like dancehall queen type stuff. Like, people dance out here. I dubbed my the thing. It was like dance off competition, yet my subtitle was dance is the unofficial national sport of Jamaica, because I returned to Jamaica with my partner, the person I was with for 10 plus years, for um and opened up a juice bar slash ice cream place in Negril called What's the Scoop. And once we're there, we're learning about Jamaican culture. We're traveling all over the place. Friends were coming down, so we were taking them all over. So we were seeing Jamaica and experiencing Jamaica doing that. And we were experiencing all these different dance groups all over the place, dancing in choreography to these different dance styles that were coming out from Elephant Man and all of them. And we just like thought it was so cool. So when I went back to America, I started to write up this thing with the premise. Once I had that premise down, dance is the unofficial national sport of Jamaica, I just went for it. And then they turned my show into these young men, like all over the place, like trying to figure out how they gonna pay for the outfits. It's like so ridiculous, and they're making money. You understand? Real dough every season. You understand? Meeting somebody who was that sort of aggressive and that sort of sexual, and make you feel desired all of a sudden, make you remember that there is this element of not just wanting a child, but like becoming a woman again in a way, because they're basically like this priestess or nun, living with the wrapped here like you're like it's a habit, or whatever, and like really internalizing this idea of virtuous woman, because you can't sully yourself because you're about to enter the community and be with and start your family there, find your husband there. So you're not to enter the community. You understand? So it wasn't like you doing this trot and you're doing this and you're doing all this work to get into the community, and then you're gonna like go have sex. Like, with who? I didn't even know anybody in so um yeah. Um Attracting this person was what did pull me out of um sort of this, I was showering in my clothes. I knew I was being monitored, and so I was always playing out this victim role. And if you're feeling like a victim and feeling victimized and feeling like you're being exploited, then that's like the energy that you're gonna have like around you. You understand? And so once I started to like listen to Abraham Hicks and started to um, get tuned in to um, I don't know, Greg Braden and Dr. Joe Dispenza, and started to tune into Bruce Lipton, and started to internalize some of the stuff that they were teaching and actually go through and the processes. Um, yeah, I was. I was just empowering myself and realizing that I have already cultivated a relationship, a deeply bonded relationship with the Most High. So, me realizing that this inner group of Rasta has little to do with the righteousness and the saintly stuff that you as the woman were being programmed into, with all of these trots around the country, with all of these wanting to be the perfect student because you want to get in the community, you want to do the right thing, you don't want to do this wrong, you don't want to do that wrong, you're trying to be the best that you, so that this will end. Because at the end of the day, you already know that you're brilliant, you already know that you're talented, you already know that you have something to offer. So you just going through boot camp in order to become a soldier, but they're not putting you through boot camp to become a soldier. That's what you have in your head. You have that you're becoming an alchemist. You have that you're stomping around in the sun because it's purifying and it's reaching something within the soul, and it's it's somehow giving you some kind of energy. It's powering you up in a way. Yeah, we recognize something in each other in the way that we met. And certainly, I was dealing with trusting. So whether or we understand, because I didn't know if the cult had sent him or had reached out to him at some point when he got to me to tell him some stories about me or whatever, or to ask him to mistreat me in some way. I didn't know. I had to be really cautious. Like, these secret cameras and these idiots are in my face, even though, like, go get a life, like, why you in my life? Why you in my privacy? Um, so instead of going through that, because I realized that me focusing on that or asking that question is what they want. It's like they want your attention. It's not like they're over there whispering behind your back and telling rumors. They want you to know that they're over there whispering behind your back and telling rumors. Like, they want you to be uncomfortable and aware of them and feeling victimized and feeling out of sorts. As I decided that I needed to exit this situation, move into a house, you understand, do all those normal things, that's now when the tables turn. And instead of they having all this power to be telling me when to trot around the country, and I'm now taking longer to get up and pack up my shop and go trot. I'm not doing that as often. I'm considering more like, why am I keep doing this? What can I learn this time around the country that I didn't learn last time? Because I started to say to myself, like, I'm not going to allow my brain to become mush. I want to know all the words I always knew. I want to have a sharp vocabulary so I can write my songs and be able to be a social observer so I can write music for the people. I was just like, if I keep doing the same monotonous thing over and over and over now, it's not something that builds you anymore. Now it's something that's depleting you. Meet someone who I realize once I came into their country and living in their home, is a complex man, complex being. And he has created a complex system within his own home, um, where the rules are his rule. And it's like the people in the house, their minds have to bend, especially since they've been there since they were children, to accommodate the way that the single parent is in the house, because there is no other way but to, you understand, I know what it has been like in this relatively short amount of time, and me being an adult, um because this person is very determined, this person is very much about their way or no way at all. This person is very much about inappropriate stuff, very much about adrenaline and sort of getting that hit of adrenaline and that very much about like being this flamboyant, over the top kind of I want everybody to see me kind of thing. And parts of that I love. Parts of that, like, yeah, let's go represent. You understand? Be my advocate so that we bring in whatever. We're building an empire. You understand? This is somebody who could have access to everything that I have as they had before and have before. Yet, once they realize that with me, us, with he and I making money with my music is going to mean that I'm going to have power, everything got shut down. And in fact, the performance that I already have half the money for, he's willing to give that half back because he's now realized he did the initial work of making the phone call and having the meeting. I impressed the producer enough, got the promoters involved. I got on the show as the headliner, so now I'm getting a certain amount of money. He's now taking me to rehearsals. He's now realizing that in me being on that mic and me being the feature, I'm the one with power. I'm going into rooms. I'm the one on television. I'm the one being interviewed. We're going on to the radio stations. I'm the one being interviewed. I'm the one who had we are going into the streaming, stuff, the online, the streaming news program stuff. I'm the one getting interviewed. And even when I'm there with a group of other people being interviewed, the interviewers come back to me all the time. I know that he saw Hiri because he sees everything, even the stuff that he don't talk about when the interview's over and we're outside or whatever. So in realizing that he can't have the same amount of control, like if I pay him or if I allow him to get money or whatever it is, it's me doing that. Like he can't be the middleman for the rest of my life in my career. He would have to be my husband or be, manager or whatever, get paid for that. But being the middleman where he gets half of everything plus half of what my half, which is how my choice would not to fly out around the world to could do my music or whatever. I would now be a part of the decision making of whether or not we stay together. Everything got shut down with the music because that is the balance of power. You understand? Or the new balance of power that would happen, the shift, meant that no, it was cutting the cord on it, anything to do with my music. And no matter how much it was about like getting the stuff in the shops so that there's always going to be orders coming through, because I'm always explaining to him that's my business model. That new business model that you saw me where I have my shop and I'm the one that's selling the stuff is not my business model because I want to work on my music. That my business model is making jewelry, bring them into the shops, and everything that I have that I've made supposed to reach the three shops, or two of the three shops or whatever. That so if one shop takes a certain amount, then the other shop is gonna take the rest, or if they don't take that, I put some more on it or whatever, and I go to over to Devon House shop. They're usually the last ones I go to after Carby's and Mrs. Matalon. It was kind of like this game that was being played, and I was just there watching it as things are being triangulated. I didn't even know about this thing as triangulation because although there is this thing of, I want you to connect with them, I want you to teach them dream making, I want you to do this and that. Direct conversation or direct communication with them was almost never happening. It was always triangulation. And now I'm realizing that what happened with that triangulation is that it was creating the feeling with them or whatever of competition or of whatever, especially since they weren't being included when I went to go stream my music stuff or when they came to the concert at the Pegasus Hotel. But rehearsals, all the little stuff, the cool stuff. Sometimes we a couple of times they dropped us off at the event or at the rehearsal for the event. It was just like people their age, cool, chilling. I know they're curious, they want to be a part of it. So I would have loved for them to, and in fact, when they came, I thought they were gonna come and chill. But it was all this separation, and little by little, I started to realize why. And even after I'm realizing why, my heart was so invested in it. So yeah, so there was all of this just wanting to empower not only myself but those who were around, and because they big, you understand. Once he realized that I my that money to be made is gonna come with me getting power. That was it. Because he was already going to any musician that I got their number and wiping the number off of my phone without telling me that he was going on my phone to wipe out the numbers. So he already had his way of doing stuff happening. So with the cult now, you have that fear, right? That you give up everything to enter this thing, to enter this cult, and then to enter this group. You didn't call it a cult when it was just this inner group of Rasta. Um, you convince yourself, you convince your family, you convince everybody, you hold on to it. You're so proud of it because you define yourself by it, whatever it is now. Very much like in relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath. When they start treating you bad, when they start putting their hands on you, when they start roughing you up, when you're still in love with them and they're treating you like shit, when they're saying fucked up stuff to you and you're still going to them, when all of that is happening, understand? It's what is occupying your attention space. You understand? And it's the same kind of thing. You want to isolate yourself from those who you love, those who want to ask questions, or those who you're probably just open up to. And you don't want to do that because a lot of times they're connected to everybody else, so they're going to tell your family, other family members, or they're going to tell your friends, or whatever it is. So a lot of times you keep it until you start isolating yourself from the people who you love, the ones who you still had contact with. With the cult, you're literally asked to not deal with family or friends from your past at all. With narcissists, it's a very similar thing. Very much compartmentalized as well. Like being in a relationship with a narcissist or whatever, leaving the cult, you get a smear campaign on your character. That is, I think, what I'm the most surprised about because, again, you don't know what this group is going to do when you leave because the whole time you were there doing your best or question or until you started to question what you're really doing out there. So, um, so there's a lot of bolstering, I guess you want to call it or whatever, because are taking back control. Um, they realize that the people around you, you're sort of new to them. And especially with me being in Jamaica, I know very few people there. I mean, I left Jamaica when I was 12. You understand? So I don't know anybody there really. Um, So I'm the stranger to a lot of people. I'm the new girl in the community or whatever. So being the new girl in the community, somebody can just be there and whisper two things, some lie or some rumor to somebody. Nobody don't know you, so they can believe what they're being told. And at the end of the day, you don't know that people are spreading rumors on you, so you don't even know to defend yourself. They don't want you having success in your music. They don't want you having success in your jewelry. They don't want you working your corporate gig in successful strides. So, but I didn't realize how extensive it was. And then I started to see that, okay, if they decided to use you as a scapegoat and create a movie about you and send in people to rape you on camera, one thing they can't do is have you be pregnant because they can't justify raping a pregnant woman on camera, but they can justify invading, peeping, tomming, and raping a beautiful woman. Why? Many people at their gut probably think that the beautiful woman deserve it, but probably less likely to question whether or not this person really deserve that kind of sadistic continuation. So they are stalking my life. You understand? And with Mr. Denhart, I just stopped caring. I stopped caring that they're looking at me. I stopped caring about the secret camera. Yeah, so a part of the smear campaign is all about convincing other people not to like you, not to befriend you, that you have a character that's not to be, whatever. And because there are women out here that they look like they have the world, but whatever it is, they see something in you that they want for themselves. And the ones who supposed to be able to have the world at their feet, they start to bolster when they can't get something that you have. And your talent, your writing ability, your dreams, your fashion sense, the kind of people who they perceive you to be able to attract into your life, the kind of experiences that you've had, the kind of admiration that you get from the general public every time you step out of the house. You don't know the kind of insecurities people who have money know, or people who have wealth, or people who have power know, have gone through in their life, so that you still make them feel uncomfortable even though they seem to have everything and you still on your way to it. Some people hate you for where you're going and what your trajectory is. That's what they're fearing, not where you are now. To gather the information that I need in order to come back like Superwoman and drop knowledge that inspires and uplifts. Their smear campaign does work. And especially no, when with this man, he not only talk you into doing stuff over the phone with him in the 4 months that you're apart, after being together for 3 months initially in Jamaica, then 4 months we're in each our respective countries, and then I come to be with him in December. So we had 4 months, 5 months or whatever, and he was taking stills of our little sessions when he would finally talk me into it, because he wanted pictures for himself or what. And at the end of the day, like, that was a violation in itself. Just doing that without my permission is way after where I start to see he sent me one picture like, I remember this day, and that's how I knew that he was doing that sometimes. And it was like, okay, so yeah, they're able to use pictures that they have of me, and so yeah, I mean, the thing is, for somebody who saw me as a victim, or having been victimized by this cult, to step in and decide that they're going to be my new victimizer, and then I fall in love with that whole dance. At the end of the book, if caterpillars can fly, so can I. Alvin Day goes into Stalin, and an example that Stalin had given. So Stalin was there explaining to somebody how he gets people to be so loyal to him. And so he used the chicken and he plucked out the feathers or something and fed the chicken or something like that, and set it on its way away from him and walked away. The chicken runs over to him and stand at his feet, like trying to get a little warmth or whatever. So he do something else, torture us or tormenting the chicken, and abandon it again over there, and he goes somewhere else, and the chicken again comes to find him, to stand at his feet, looking for his attention, looking for his love. And he said, this is the same kind of thing with people. It's like you put them under all this pain and pressure, and then they're his to be controlled. And when I saw that is when I kind of started to wake up. Like, why am I going through all of this pressure and constant strain? What am I learning? I've been asking myself that question, but really, what am I learning? And the funny thing is, I started the book. I was so into the book that I stayed for like an extra day, but the following day was a weekend and they weren't going to be open. So I left without reading the end of it. And when I got back to Kingston, because I was trotting, when I got back to Kingston, I couldn't find the book in Kingston. I couldn't find the book in Spanish Town. I went to Spanish Town to try to find the book after Kingston didn't have it. I had to wait until I was trotting again. And went, that's how I finished If Caterpillars Can Fly, So Can I. Next time I was studying, I go back to the library in Ochi and I find back that book. And this time I read it all the way through and came to that Stalin. And I stopped right there in Ochi. Right there in Ochi. He talk about in that book um, how you make what they call blue draws in Jamaica. So they use stone and to create something so that there's fire on the top and fire on the bottom, and they put it in the middle, and that's how they bake it. So they call it hella top, hella bottom, and in the midst of that is the perfection. And that's definitely sort of what was going on, man. The society is giving me hell because of the choices I'm making, and the people that I'm trying to get in their community with them is giving me hell because I'm too strong. And people are judging me because I'm choosing to do this, so something must be wrong. And I'm going on and on, so proud and so whatever, when these people are men looking to use me and my body, deplete me, and very likely only want to accept me if I've lost my mind. What a world. What a world. Because, wow. So yeah, but the smear campaign, it works because again, when you're the new girl in an area, you understand, people are making their judgments anyway, much less if they have a one person come in and say something offhand. They know now how to start a rumor. It's like being in a fraternity or being in a gang. The same way they want to beat you up to get in the gang, they want to beat you up when you're coming out of the gang or whatever those the initiation things are that they do in gangs and in fraternities and all that kind of thing. Realize at some point that I'm being monitored. Wherever I'm going, wherever I start staying, wherever I'm renting, because I'm renting in these kind of places. I'm not in a house that is sort of under lock and key and my control. Anybody could have been here right before I came to be in this particular. When you've been doing all these physical exertion and all of this alienation from your friends and family, all of this loneliness, all of this no FaceTime with anybody who, you I don't know, I guess you just get into this mode or from confidence or in trying to build myself back to feeling empowered. And oh, excuse me, they use those things and say that you must be this arrogant person because look at how you um you know yet it's not about you being an arrogant person, it's about you doing the things necessary. It's like they're totally deflecting from the real thing. The real thing is that, like, I mean, I was not destroyed by the mockery. I could have been like so many others who I hear and see who are either completely brain whatever, mind bent, or they angry. because of what happened and because of their expectations and what it ended turned it out to be. How much time was wasted, how much suffering happened. Yet I don't carry any of the weight. I don't have any of that weight of like, you know, that heaviness, because I realize that if I hold on to that stuff and that heaviness, I wouldn't be able to reverse age. Because once I realized that I had spent so many years dealing with this stuff and like not even realizing that years were actually going past, I actually started to reverse age. My biological age right now is different from my chronological age. You're dealing with post traumatic stress disorder and from the cult, and then you meet somebody who's giving you another version of the post traumatic stress disorder. At the end of the day, that household needed a revolutionist. You need to help people to help themselves sometime. So we all were somehow cosmically aligned in order for us to all sort of be in the same environment at the same time. Yeah, I give thanks. Ja love, Tamara Forrester.